weekend-long kayaking in Belgium. My very first whitewater experience. And I used to say whitewater kayaking wasn't really for me. Well, turns out I was wrong. Whitewater kayaking really is for me. Day one was easing into things. Our group of 14 consisted of 3 instructors, some experienced paddlers, and some, like me, true beginners. Water levels were really high in Belgium at the time, so we needed to change our plans. And for the first day, we drove all the way to Maas, to the Belgium side of the Maas. Now, the Maas isn't really what I picture when I think of white water. I describe it more as fast-moving water. It's wide, open, and pretty straightforward. Though, looking back on it, I think it was the perfect first river, but when I was standing on the shore and looking at the tons of water pumping through, it made me a little nervous. And while we waited on the shuttle to return, we started to get used to our boats and started to practice running some eddies. And although for a first time I managed, it would take me a good 2 days to get the hang of it. The first big challenge we had was crossing the Maas, which looked really daunting from the shore. The wind was blazing, and when we crossed, I felt like paddling in a storm, and I could imagine just being swept away by the water. The strange thing was, I was loving it. It doesn't really look like it, but adrenaline was pumping at this time, and the rest of the Maas was mellow compared to this crossing. I was just starting to get relaxed when my boat started acting up. I kept losing control and getting pushed off balance, and apparently we were surrounded by boils. I felt I lost control, and I know it sounds silly, but this was the only time during the whole trip that I actually felt scared.
Okay.
After getting in some more practice on the way, we arrived at the takeout, but the ferry was blocking our way and we needed to wait it out. And that's unfortunately when one of the paddlers misjudged an eddy and he got caught in one of the ferry lines and he flipped. He was picked up a couple of 100 meters down. But thinking about it, with the reputation I'm building for myself, I really thought that I would be the one to take the first swim, but I guess I didn't. And though water levels dropped significantly, still most rivers in Belgium were closed off. And so we headed out to Wilts in Luxembourg to paddle over there. And I didn't know it at the time, but the Wilts, it had a bone to pick with me. And just like the day before, we got in some practice while we waited on the shuttle to return. And since we had the perfect spot for it, we practiced some traversing. So that didn't really go as planned. Instinctively, when the current grabbed my boat, I edged the wrong way and, well, you've seen the result. My first swim of the weekend was a fact, and spoiler alert, it wasn't the last. And though at first sight the Wilts looked similar to the Maas, a couple of minutes in I realized that it wasn't going to be anything like the Maas. Don't get me wrong, this is what I expected the weekend to be like, but I was thinking to myself, am I ready for it? swim number 2 is a fact. Again then, edging. The first couple of days I had really hard time getting into eddies because I kept edging the wrong way and it would take me a couple of days to really get the hang of it. So you might not be surprised I wasn't really feeling high on confidence at this point. I had a hard time just going with the flow, and that's what ultimately got me into really big trouble. I had a hard time steering because I was scared to float down the river sideways, and I learned the hard way that that isn't really optional. I got caught in the outside current and forgot my instructions to paddle like crazy because I was busy dodging and swatting away some first few branches. In the end, I think I would have made it if I just paddled like crazy, but it was already too late by that point. Definitely a very scary moment and a big lesson. And to make matters worse, now I lost my paddle.
Jongens, we zijn verdwaald. Lex, zijn we verdwaald?
Ik wel in ieder geval. Weet je hoe het jou zit?
Nee, we zijn niet verdwaald.
Mijn Paddlin is wel verdwaald.
Dat gaan we niet doen, dus we gaan zo even bovenlangs. Maar dan moeten we daar weer naar beneden zien te komen. Hè? Dus we gaan niet te ver omhoog. Maar wat is gebeurd?
Wat is gebeurd? Een boom is gebeurd.
Er is een boom gebeurd.
Dat is in de bocht.
Yo! Kijk dan! Iedereen aan de kant?
Dat is ook niet meer verdwenen.
Mooi. Nico heeft zijn veddel gevonden. Top.
The last part of the river was actually quite smooth sailing. Right up until the takeout. You might remember the day started with a swim during traversing practice. Well, now we actually got to traverse to get to the takeout. And I could see the irony in that. So this was a pretty stressful day and I was beat. We had a lot to talk about on the way home, and when I thought about it, I felt scared and nervous, but I also felt great excitement. I did it. I made it. I practiced. I pushed myself. I swam. I got out. I got rescued. I did all these things and I really felt I wanted to prove the next river wrong. So, on to day 3. Still not able to paddle in Belgium, we drove past Monschau, Germany to paddle the Ruhr. And though we drove down the river, the more experienced guys started up in Monschau for a spectacular start. During our wait at the put-in, we talked to this guide who said, no, this river is great for beginners, no sweat. Great for beginners? I think he wasn't talking about me when he said beginners. This would be again nothing like the day before. The Ruhr is a full-on Class 2 river, and like yesterday, we didn't get off on the right foot. though I had a run-in with that tree and flopped down backwards, things started to click. Where up to now I was clenching to my pedal, butt puckered, trying not to flip. Now, slowly but surely, I was trying to relax and having fun. And all I could think was, finally. And for the first time, I kept my suit dry while others took a swing. Okay, maybe not, but that rock hit me by surprise. At least I held on to my pedal this time. In the end, it was a really fun experience. This river really gave me and us a challenge, but it was a fun challenge. And adrenaline was pumping through my veins when I got out of the water, and I was just jumping and screaming and I couldn't control myself. And honestly, I couldn't wait just to get back into the water and do it all again. It was a fun, exciting, but at times scary weekend. It's amazing how much you can learn in one day and in one weekend, but I know it will take a lot more time to get truly comfortable and really good at the stuff that I want to do. But one thing's for sure, I want to go back. So the question isn't if I go back, but when I go back. Hope to see you next time. Hey paddlers, don't forget to like this video if you like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I would love it if you watch another video. Leave a comment on this one, and don't forget to paddle on.